Hey, Cashflow Ninjas, real quick before we jump into today's episode. I've been asked by many people recently, what has been the one thing that has made all the difference on my journey as a business owner and investor? I started businesses and I've invested in businesses. I've invested in single family real estate, multifamily real estate. I still have a sizable portfolio of multifamily real estate, historic resorts, mobile home parks, oil and gas, life settlements, gold and silver, Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. I could go on. But the one thing that has changed the financial trajectory for myself and my family has been infinite banking. Yes, you heard that correctly. That is the number one thing I've done over the past 2 decades that have made the single biggest difference. And it's not even close. Setting up and building out a family banking system using infinite banking has enabled me to create my own financial system. This year, it has allowed me to focus and not pay attention to all the chaos in the global economy and global financial markets. I really don't pay attention to all the noise about tariffs, trade wars, markets violently going down and then going back up, or interest rates skyrocketing and wrecking real estate deals and other alternative investment deals. Do not be beholden to other systems. Create your own system. If you're interested in working with me and my team at Producers Wealth to set up your own banking system or your own business and family banking system, then go to getwealthyforsure.com. That's getwealthyforsure.com. When you go to getwealthyforsure.com, you can request a free copy of my best-selling book, Get Wealthy for Sure. Only pay for shipping. You can also watch all of our presentations and schedule a call to explore infinite banking options with me and my team. You don't have to be powerless amidst the chaos. You too can have a financial strategy that provides certainty, predictability, and clarity. You and your family can also get wealthy for sure. Go to getwealthyforsure.com to start your journey today.
The world is going through changes. Changes happening at a speed that we have never seen before. This is leading to disruption, chaos, panic, fear, hysteria, and a turbulent economy and marketplace. How do you protect your wealth in a turbulent world? How do you invest for cash flow in alternative assets to escape the rat race in times of uncertainty? How do you decentralize yourself, your family, your community, your business, and your investments to become sovereign and escape the matrix? If you are looking for strategies, tactics, and techniques to escape the rat race and matrix, you are in the right place. My name is MC Laubscher, and this is Cashflow Ninja. This is Cashflow Ninja. I'm MC Laubscher. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode and spending the most valuable resource, your time, once again with me. Everything Cashflow Ninja is at cashflowninja.com. It's cashflowninja.com. We've got over 1,000 podcasts. We've got 4 books. We have reports, webinars, and much, much more, all at cashflowninja.com. And don't forget to subscribe to the #1 newsletter in the alternative wealth strategy and alternative asset investing space, the Wealth Dojo. You can subscribe to the Wealth Dojo by going to cashflowninja.com/subscribe. I've got a fantastic show for you today. I'm joined by Max Wright. Max Wright is someone that I have followed. Boy, it's got to be like 10 years now, a little over 10 years. I followed his work. He is a business owner, entrepreneur. He's an investor. He's an economist. He's a forecaster. He is someone that can analyze the macroeconomic environment, markets, and so forth, and find incredible opportunities. He's also extremely good in analyzing market cycles of many different asset classes. And of course, Max is very well known for his content that he's put out on Bitcoin, boy, for since 2012 now. So he did, the first time I saw Max and just do a presentation was one of his whiteboard videos. This was in 2015ish, and he was explaining exactly what was about to happen in crypto and with Bitcoin, and where this was going to go and how he was going to invest during that particular crypto cycle. It blew my mind, and it played out exactly as he had forecasted. Then he did another one of these videos, these whiteboard videos, around 2020, and again shared exactly how that crypto cycle and Bitcoin cycle was going to play out and how he planned on investing during that time. And of course, it played out exactly how he shared in that whiteboard video. He's doing another one of these right now that you can access at cashflowninja.com/max, MAX. That's cashflowninja.com/max, in which he is going to share what is happening with crypto and Bitcoin and what comes next in this crypto and Bitcoin cycle, and how he is planning on investing and what strategies he's planning to implement and execute during this crypto and Bitcoin cycle. Again, you can access that presentation by going to cashflowninja.com/max. Max, great to see you.
Hey, man. Great to see you too.
Yeah, always enjoy our conversations, and I haven't connected with you and had you on in a while, so I think it's very, very timely to have you on right now. I don't know what we're going to talk about. There's not a lot going on in the world today, right? But
yeah, there's nothing.
But for folks that are not familiar with you and what you do, could you just give a little bit about your background and your journey?
Sure. I mean, all right, so I'll start with the more relevant stuff. I actually did very well and exited a company in my early 30s, and the company was doing very well before then. So I had to learn the game of investing quite young. And for whatever reason, my passion for macroeconomics and monetary sciences and all this kind of weird stuff that for hundreds of years would have been a fairly worthless hobby, just so happened to be around at the time when I discovered Bitcoin in 2012. And all of a sudden, with all of my hobbies and weird eclectic tastes in economics, all of a sudden I just understood it perfectly. And so I've been teaching people that Bitcoin will be the investment of their lifetime since 2012. And so I got pretty good at, I've been watching it for a long time, longer than most people you'll find. And so I understand the cycles of Bitcoin. I understand how it interacts with, the rest of the economy. And so I've just become very, very good. And I've got a very proud history on YouTube where you can go and view, just go back and look through my old videos. And it's wild. They're all time stamped and date stamped. And some of the predictions I've made, I would say nearly close to all of them have just been nailing it. So I've earned myself a reputation as quite good at forecasting moves in Bitcoin.
I will say this. I saw one of those videos years ago where you made predictions, and I think that was before the first big run-up in 2016, 2017, where people really started to pay attention. And some of the predictions that you were making at that stage, even like I was like, I don't know about that. And then boom, you just nailed it. Nailed exactly where it was going, nailed when it was going to come back down, how to play that whole cycle out. Then you made another video, and I think this is when I had you on around about the first or the second time on the show in 2020. Same thing. Threw out a price there. I mean, you threw out in the 60,000s actually a price, and I'm like, no, that it's sounded crazy. Nailed it again. Nailed it on the way down. Played that cycle. So that's why I'm like, spoiler alert too for our folks. You're doing a presentation, sharing and deep diving and really getting into the weeds of things that folks can access at cashflowninja.com/max. So if you're listening to this and you want to know exactly how this thing plays out with the weeds, go to cashflowninja.com/max. But let's stay on the Bitcoin topic. What are some of the things you're seeing right now big picture, macro, and then also how does it relate to the cycle, and what are some of the other interesting things that you're seeing?
Yeah, sure. So there's a lot going on in the world, as everybody knows. We've got this madman, I say it in the best way possible. Trump got elected to presidency of the United States, obviously, and he's just come in and just flipped the board upside down and said, "Okay, we're going to build a brand new game," and it's a long term. I mean, there's a lot of short term pain. I don't want to dismiss that. It's a short term pain on the way, but the long-term prospects are unbelievably good for America and for the world, especially the Western world, the first world. So, but that's actually not true. I would say, let me qualify that. So there's been something happening, and most people don't know that this is happening, but it was agreed upon by the people who largely do run the world and want to solidify their strength in running the world. They wanted to weaken America and improve the third world, mix all the populations up, right? And then no one said loyalty to any country, nationalism dies, and they can just run the world, from a centralized location like the United Nations and things like that. And so the destruction of the first world, the Western world, was part of the agenda. And so, but something that's been happening is they're siphoning all of this money out of the Western world, giving it to the third world. And what it is it's masking the worse effects of that centralized control, because the third world is the third world for a reason. It is completely centralized and very authoritarian regimes. There's very, very little freedom and liberty there. And what should happen is that the countries that are more free, they have the much higher standard of living for a reason and a much higher growth trajectory for the quality of life for their citizens. But what happened is there's money being siphoned out of the Western worlds and the more free worlds, given to those third worlds that have those authoritarian regimes, and that's propping up their success. So what is being hidden long term is there's a very, very easy formula to replicate if you come from those worlds, is that you have to move towards freedom. And that message is being masked. Now, to be fair, they're giving them money right now to prop them up. But that's a short-term game. If they want long-term success and long-term increased quality of life, what they need to do is move towards more freedom, less government. And once Trump finishes flipping the board and resets the table, what we'll see is that the more free worlds will just take off, and the other world, the centralized worlds will be left behind. However, they will be able to see finally, for the first time ever, the message won't be masked. And they'll be able to see, oh, there's a very clear way that we need to move forward. And when they change it, they will take off like a rocket even faster than us. So long term, it is actually good for everybody. And so that's how I see the world kind of shaking out. Now, how that all kind of interplays with regards to Bitcoin, well, it all depends, right? So we see this, the big, Trump called it Liberation Day. The market's kind of tanked, introduces all these tariffs. And, the world's thrown into a frenzy. Markets do not like uncertainty. And part of Trump's negotiating tactic, and he's always said it, he wrote in his book, he's been saying it for years, he goes, you create all of this uncertainty. You create it so that we can make amazing deals. So the market has to sit there and suffer through this uncertainty while this is being played out. And once again, I don't want to minimize it. It does cause pain along the way, both in markets and people's quality of life, in a whole bunch of different areas. I mean, you can imagine if you imagine all the good little American entrepreneurs here who have had a Mercedes dealership, or a Toyota dealership. I mean, there must be tens of thousands of them across the country. And all of a sudden you're told, my product is about to get a 100% tariff or a 20% tariff or a 20. I mean, just mayhem, right? It's complete not a mayhem. Totally agree with that. And so anyway, that caused us to have a really, really nice pullback in all of the markets. And so I said that very early on, said this is what Trump does. It's how he does it. There is a limit. He can undo this uncertainty at any point, and he can manage this pain if it gets too painful. And so he's going to do that kind of now. And that's exactly what played out. He put the pause on and kind of chilled that market out, kept up the pressure on China. But what I said then, what I'm continuing to say now is I think we have seen the worst of it. From here on in, he just needs to keep a little bit of uncertainty, get a handful of deals done, maybe 5, 10, 15, 20 deals with our closest trading partners, sans China, who will leave them to the end. And I think the market's kind of seeing that and smelling that. And so we are moving now in a very, very good direction. That's just one thing going on in the macro world. But the theme of what I think, all of the things I could talk about here and now is there's a lot of tailwinds that have been primed, pushing Bitcoin forward. We had this, upset with regards to Liberation Day and the tariffs while Trump resets the table. And that is going to continue for a relatively short amount of time. I think the video I made 2 months ago, like a couple of days after the tariffs came out, it was after the tariffs came out, but before the pause. So I think it was like a 3-day window there that video came out. And what I said was it will take around about 3 months for these deals to start to get solidified and pushed through. As you start to see them come through, the world's going to see, oh my God, this is actually going to be a really good thing long term. Certainty starts to enter into the market. And then all of a sudden, the things that have been kind of on the waiting are just going to take off like a rocket. So it's going to be a really, really exciting time for Bitcoin the next 6 months is my prediction.
It's interesting what you were saying, too, is in this global game, just to zoom out again from a macro standpoint, you've had the first world, Europe, the United States, North America, and so forth, propping up the rest of the world. And that was one of the revelatory stuff coming out through the Doge and Elon Musk's team of everyone that's involved there. You saw all these agencies were basically instruments to launder money overseas. And as Ron Paul elegantly put it, that, foreign aid is poor people in rich countries giving money to rich people in poor countries. And it seems that is exactly how it's been going on. And that game's been going on. And all of the wars, of course, that's money laundering. From governments through corporations. The same thing, could be argument could be made for the pharmaceutical events of 2020 and how that was a big money laundering operation too, from governments all the way to, big corporations and of course the people that are close to the trough of those corporations. But it's interesting to see how this has all kind of been unveiled. That this is actually how the world's been working. Right up until this reveal that we got in the beginning of 2025, right?
100%. There is, and I've been talking about this for 20 years. The model that is this more and more of it has been coming out. Even COVID was a big reveal for everybody that the media is just complicit in these lies and lying to you constantly. Even the scientific community, people were like, I just can't believe how much the entire scientific community was in unison telling me lies about the vaccines, about they originally said if you have the vaccine you can't get it, then it's if you have the vaccine you can't transmit, and they literally just made up lie after lie after lie after lie, and the entire scientific community pushed this agenda. And I mean, I've been saying this for decades, and often this would come up with regards to the climate crew, right? It's like, the world's going to end in 12 years. It's always 12 years, right? The world's going to end in 12 years. And I was like, no, the scientific community has been captured. The way that whole scientific community works is if you want to get government grants to run your experiments and to run your science tests, you have to come up with the results that they want. And they tell you what they want in advance. And it's like, you have to do this. So if you are actually true to the craft and actually a good scientist, you got booted out of the community decades ago because you never got any funding. You wanted to run the experiment, wait and see what the results are, and then share it with the world. Well, that's not how it works. You have to come up with the answer, telling them what you're going to find, and then you get the money to run the experiment. And as long as you come up with as long as you're going to tell them what they want to hear, they continue giving you the money. So as the result, the whole industry gets hollowed out, and you have nothing but sycophants in there. And they've done the same thing with media. They bought up all the media corporations and did it that way. With the scientific community, they did it with government funding. They took over all the government departments, the major political parties all over the world, many, many countries, many, many political parties. They took over all of those and they dished the money out. And so they really have built this very, very elaborate machine, which just has hundreds upon hundreds of tentacles in it, where whenever anything happens, it doesn't, and it's the type of machine. It doesn't really have to come with a top-down order that says, everyone do this now. The machine is so well trained that it just kind of, the tentacles reflexively just like push against anything that attacks it. And we kind of see that with just how much Trump has been, all of the tentacles that worked against him, just all of these attorney generals from all over the country. Well, they just start making up things. They'll spend an unlimited amount of government money, government investigators, to go pouring through one man's life, for the last 4 decades. And they thought, we found this mortgage application from here over here, where from 20 years ago, and we're going to find you $400 million for that because you said something which actually was the truth, but we can make an argument that it wasn't. So it's just crazy stuff. And all of this kind of stuff just happens. And once you know how that world, once you know you've been living in that world for 20, 30 years, well, then everything all of a sudden makes sense. Now, my job as a forecaster used to be stupid easy before Trump. It was so easy because no one knew anything. There was no opposition to this, let's call it a cartel of the world's elite that have been working to buy up other countries and take control of all of these power centers is what they're called. So if you take over the media, if you take over the education system, if you take over law enforcement, if you take over the FBI, if you take over all of these things, they're called the power centers of society. You can control society with just a relatively small number of these power centers. So I was watching them do that, and I knew they were doing it, and I knew they would take. But it was very easy to predict everything that was going to happen because, as an individual, sorry, I get my finger in screen here. As an individual, there was only a handful of things you could do to protect yourself against this machine being built around you, and one of them was Bitcoin. And I would say the best one. The Bitcoin is the nuclear weapon of the individual against this, and there was no other opposing force. But now, since Trump, we have an opposing force. And now we have been watching in real time for the last 8 years a real live battle. It is a war, and wars are unpredictable. So someone wins a battle, someone loses a battle, someone retools, reshapes, comes around, flanks someone off. It's a game, right? For these guys, it's a game, and the citizens of the world are the chess pieces. And it's a much, much harder for me to predict what's going to happen in the world because there are battles going on, and battles can be won and battles can be lost. Generally, two teams don't enter into an arena to fight unless they both believe they can win. And so it's a very, very interesting world. It's a fun time for me to do my job, but I seem to have been doing pretty well.
I love how you put it too. Like it's a game board that's been flipped upside down, because what you just described, that ecosystem, how everything's been working, I look at it as cash flow patterns. And also, you know, I would add to what you're saying, why doesn't anybody push back against this or stand up? Because the people that come in that disrupts the flow of cash flow, these cash flow patterns, they get dealt with swiftly and very quickly. Because you do not want to disrupt these patterns that have been going on really without opposition. I mean, if you think about it, how does a country get 36, $37 trillion in debt for, over a certain period of time? Well, there was no one stepping in and saying, whoa, hang on, and disrupting the patterns of cash flow, which is interesting is before they got into politics, people would say that two of the biggest disruptors in business in our lifetimes has been Donald Trump in different industries. Every industry that he goes into, he disrupts massively, whether it's real estate, whether it's reality TV, and of course, politics. It's never going to be the same again. No. Same with Elon Musk. Same kind of thing where he is just a disruptor of industry, where how many people have tried to break into the market with an electrical vehicle, right? A car, and it doesn't go anywhere. It starts off and then it just dies off. He's not going anywhere. And now it's, from the one industry to the other one. If it's space, if it's, this satellite and phones, internet, all this kind of stuff. So it's very interesting that these two individuals, which kind of found a way to flip everything upside down and every industry on its head, is now at the helm of the biggest economy in the world. Yep. So it's to your point, turbulence, a war, a battles being fought. It's pretty interesting just as a spectator to see all of these things playing out.
Yeah, it is. And the Elon thing is great. Both Elon and Trump were universally loved until they stepped in and tried to make things more fair for the regular person. And then after that, all of the tentacles just start moving against them. Anyone who is part of that corrupt machine hates them, and anyone who's not part of that corrupt machine loves them. It's literally that simple. And it gives you an idea of just how many people are on that suckling from that teat. Be you a bureaucrat hiding in some organization, in some three-letter agency doing absolutely nothing productive, or worse, doing something destructive to society, or whether you're one of these agitators out there who put on their black masks and go off and try and hurt people, destroy people, and destroy property. All of these things, there's so many people, there's just money sloshing around these NGOs that are being stolen from the prosperity of the United States. because, as I said earlier, the goal is to weaken the United States, lower their standard of living, and then funnel all that money off to people who are unproductive, who are aligned with their cause. And so that's how it works. And then all of the tentacles just move against it.
So from a forecasting perspective, so you obviously over the past couple of years, and especially with the previous administration, the growth of government and the size of government, and if you think about the impact that a government spending has just on the U.S. economy, which is pretty scary, actually, that's you don't want that. And now you've got all this cutting and slashing. Do you see any deflationary stuff? Do you see in your forecast a little bit of just a kind of like a deflationary kind of like period? You mentioned it's going to take a couple of months for more certainty for the markets. Is that kind of what you're referring to, or do you just think that they're going to keep spending money in other areas? What are you seeing?
Yeah, so I think we're going to see a little bit of a separation here. There are areas of the economy that I think will see deflation. In the United States, for example, I think we'll see deflation in real estate this year. We're going to see house prices come down pretty much across the board. And for those of you who like hunting for real estate deals, I think the next 12 months is just going to be absolutely phenomenal. You're going to see, I see, so I'm going to say something that just no one else is even saying. Zillow came out with every single month, Zillow comes out with like a forecast of what it sees for the next 12 months in terms of price changes. And last month, they came out with I think it was the first negative number it came out with. And it came out as an annualized drop in prices of 2.5%. But I mentioned this report comes out every year, every month. So the previous month, they were predicting that the following 12 months would see a 0.5% increase. So within 1 month, they went from positive 0.5% down to 2.5%. Now, I think that sometime in the next 12 to 18 months is going to see big price drops in real estate here in the United States. I'm not because 2008 was a special animal. I'm not going to say it's going to be as deep as that. We went down like 60% in Florida and some of the other sand states. But I think we could see, across the country and in certain markets, you could even see certain markets go down by 20%, I would say. Especially, I live here in Florida, and I'm just licking my chops waiting to scoop up some bargains down here. I think we're going to see price decreases of over 20% here in Florida. On the other kind of world, now, real estate is a big-time lagging indicator. So a lot of the damage done from that, and the reason real estate has to come down is because of things that happened 2, 3, 4 years ago. Bitcoin is not only not lagging, it's actually a leading indicator. So it normally does all its gyrations before the big events happen. When things happen, there's little stuff that happens. But in terms of its big movements, they generally happen in advance. And so for the same things that are going to, the shudders in the market that are going to cause the problems in the real estate market that'll finally come to fruition this year, they were the same things that kind of killed the Bitcoin 2021 cycle. So the struggle when Bitcoin went down from 70 down to 15 in 2022, that in 2023, the same things that caused that are the same things that are going to cause the real estate market to come down in 2025. So that's how it's very, very important to understand that these asset classes have different timing. Some are neutral, some are advanced, and some are in arrears. So right now, I think what we're going to see is, in the short term, we are going to see some pain caused by the real estate market and some of the other markets, and even to some degree, this game we are playing with tariffs. That's going to cause some problems here. Also, I do believe Powell's leaving rates too high for too long for sure. Europe's already cut. I think it's very obvious he should cut as well, but he's not. So there's going to be some pain here in the States. And the response to that pain is going to be massive money printing, because that's just the remedy now, right? That is the only tool in the toolkit for the economists these days. Any sign of trouble, you just print. And what that means, the Economist Geek talk, is liquidity. That means a massive spike in worldwide liquidity. And once America prints, that gives all the other nations permission to print as well, so that, we don't want one currency massively going up or down versus another. So when America prints, everyone else has permission to print as well. And everyone else is hurting, and everyone else wants to print. They just need to wait for permission from America to print, because America needs to get into a little bit of trouble first and also print. So with all that being said, I think what we're seeing now is when some kind of shock happens, you might see a dip. I'm going to predict a relatively small one, like a 15, maybe 20% dip in Bitcoin price. But all of this, and I don't know exactly when that'll happen, it might not happen, but all of this is a precursor to the fact that liquidity is about to skyrocket. There's going to be a massive injection of money sometime in the next 6 months, I believe, and that will massively push the Bitcoin prices. But as I said, Bitcoin is a leading indicator. So I think we're going to start prices going up now. I believe the bottom is in. There's a slight chance we'll go down again, but I think the bottom is in now for this little, let's call it whatever you want to call that. It's a little recession. We went down 30%, right, from 109 down to a little bit below 80. And so we've had that, and I think now we're setting ourselves up for a very, very good summer, which is interesting because usually summer's not a great time. Usually, the saying is sell in May and go away because the markets are really boring over summer because for all the obvious reasons. And so it's usually not the best time, but I suspect we're going to have a really, really good summer, and time will see if that plays out. A big part of that is going to be the trade announcements that I believe will start coming out in the next kind of 30, 60 days.
What do you see with gold and happening with gold? Because that has been fascinating to watch too. There was a big rush towards it. What are you seeing there?
So that's interesting. I talked about this, one of the most beautiful cup and handle setups in gold about a year ago on my channel, and it has come into fruition absolutely perfectly. I was like, it's been sitting there so long waiting to break out, and it didn't. But this cup and handle formed, and it broke out, and I was like, guys, this is going to do really, really well for the next 12 months. And it has. But it'll be interesting. According to the cup and handle pattern that I talked about then, that's kind of played out. We will see how the price of gold goes, but I'm not as excited over the next 12 months as I was the last 12 months for sure with regards to gold. Something I am quite excited about is silver. Silver has barely moved. Gold's up 50% and silver hasn't moved in the last 12 months. And silver is just completing its own cup and handle situation. It's not as clean. If you look at the charts, the gold cup and handle was really, really clean and really obvious. The silver one is not quite as clean and not quite as obvious, but it is still there. And I'm expecting to see silver do exceptionally well over the next 12 months for all the same reasons that gold did over the last 12 months.
So from a strategy perspective, going through this turbulent time, which is ahead the next couple of months, and positioning yourself, what are some of the things that you're looking at? You mentioned there's going to be deals in certain asset classes, real estate specifically, so some cash on hand. Bitcoin is ready for setup to make another big run, and obviously precious metals. What are some of the things that you would share as far as looking at a strategy, to position yourself to be on the right side of all the turmoil and chaos ahead?
So understanding that predicting and guessing the markets is actually a relatively small component of what you actually buy and what you actually sell, and when you buy it and when you sell it, because there's such a concept as portfolio management and portfolio construction. So you want to be hedged and you want to be comfortable in all situations, and you have a certain portion that you're willing to bet the moon on. You have a certain portion that you're not willing to bet the moon on. So just understanding this is a big conversation, and you have to go down to the individual level for, what's your risk tolerance? Are you 80 years old and you only need money to last a few years, or are you 20 years old and you want to put it all on black and see what happens? So there's a lot of things going on there, but I will say, with your speculative portion of your portfolio, I think if I was seeking out high returns and I was willing to have high risk, here is something that I would do now. I would put the next 6 to 12 months, sometimes I think your best performing asset is going to be Bitcoin. I would put my eggs in the basket for the Bitcoin basket, with a view to at the sometime in around in the next 6 to 12 months, I'll say it that way, with a view to selling and cashing in those profits, and then probably almost immediately or shortly after, 3-6 months afterwards, I will have already seen. And so you don't need to guess this part. Like, you wait until it actually happens. Wait until real estate prices come down significantly. And the places that, in the US where that's going to lead, you're going to see that in Florida big time. You're going to see it in parts of Arizona, the sand states, the same as 2008. You're going to see it in California, Vegas, Arizona, and Florida. I think Florida is going to be one of the biggest, because it had such a massive run up because DeSantis was such a baller with regards to the COVID, that all of that kind of, just everyone wanted to be in Florida because it was the most sensible, least ridiculous state to be in. So just everyone moved, and it went crazy. And infrastructure kind of broke, and prices everywhere skyrocketed, both in terms of the properties, but also the cost of living skyrocketed here, because in order to get access to anything, you had to pay a premium because there were just so many people moving in. So probably the biggest place where price will go down will be Florida. And I think we're going to see amazing price drops in Florida, and we're going to see amazing opportunities to buy a really good cash flow. And then, so wait until those prices drop. It'll probably take you another 12 to 18 months, and you roll your Bitcoin profits into your real estate. And because it's such a beautiful setup where you're going to do what I call stacking the booms. You're going to boom in Bitcoin, then you're going to jump out and then boom in real estate. You're going to stack the booms and avoid those crashes. I think in the space of 12 to 18 months, people who play this wisely, I believe they are going to just dramatically change their financial destiny. This is like if you're on a plane going from here to New York, from LA to New York, you just veer 2 degrees, and instead of New York, you end up in Florida or something like this. Well, this is an opportunity to just change the direction you're going, like 90 degrees. If this plays out the way I believe, and all the disclaimers we have to say, with all of that, all of that in mind, this is an opportunity for, I believe, in a very short amount of time, for people to just absolutely cataclysmically change their financial outcome, really put them on a different path.
In the presentation, Max, that you're doing, that folks can get access to at cashflowninja.com/Max, in the next 12 to 18 months, you're sharing this trajectory. You could change the destiny, the trajectory of wealth for you and your family forever. What other things are you going to cover in this presentation?
Yeah, so we actually zoom in and do a really, really detailed dive into all of this. We talk about all of those markets and how they interplay, and I actually map out a specific play about how to stack those booms in detail. We talk about price predictions, we talk about specific dates, we talk about key markers to look for, so that you can actually see and ride along and be, okay, that what he said was going to came true. Okay, now it's time to do this. You get all that laid out for you. And I do it in what I think is a pretty fun way. And I don't see many people do this anymore. Typically, you go to a presentation. First of all, they have to prove who they are. I've been around for a long time. People generally know me. So I skip all the BS about showing you the pictures of my amazing Europe trip and all that garbage. Forget about that. We get straight into the content immediately. You go to the event, boom, we're into the content. But the other thing I do is the other people are like, they don't generally speak as confidently and have as much genuine knowledge as me. Like, they read a book and they make some marketing materials, and they write a script and they got to read it out and they got to edit it 17 times to make sure they don't sound. I'm just straight to camera in front of a whiteboard. It's just you, it's me, it's a whiteboard, and I just map out with a pen and paper an exact blueprint of how I think things are going to go. And I just talk from the heart the whole time, no edits. It's just me talking to you guys live, and it's an awesome experience. People really love it.
To access that presentation, go to cashflowninja.com/Max, and I will attest to this, that I saw one of those presentations years ago, and first you shocked me, and then I was like, that can't be. and then I continue to watch the presentation. A couple of months later, I'm like, oh, playing out exactly how you put it in the presentation. So this is going to be one of the most valuable things that you're going to see and have access to right now, because there's a lot of fluff, and as you mentioned, everybody's an expert now. It's incredible, and the category of the expert changes weekly. Everybody's an expert now on tariffs, by the way. In case you haven't mentioned, everybody knows exactly how it works, how it's supposed to work, and how it's going to play out. It's fascinating. But if you want to get practical strategy and forecasting from an actual expert with a track record, which I've personally followed, just go to cashflowninja.com/Max. Max, can you give them your handle for your YouTube videos that you put out, your channel? You put some great stuff out weekly.
So it's it's youtube.com/Success Council, I believe.
Okay.
It's silly. I'm a bit naughty with regards to YouTube. I have 40,000 subscribers, and I don't really try and grow the channel. Whenever I just have an important message to say, I put it out there. So it's not like you're going to get 3 videos from me a week. If I post something, it's because it's really important. So that's how that channel works. But if you look for Max Wright or Success Council in YouTube, you'll find me.
What does a Contrarian do to the
Contrarian dude, isn't it? Yes, I don't know how did I come up with that. I was a little younger when I came up with that. So yeah, I've been Contrarian dude for a while.
No, I love it. Appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming on again and sharing your knowledge and providing so much value for all of my listeners and viewers.
Thanks so much for having me, MC. Appreciate it.
And thank you to all of my listeners and my viewers for again spending your most valuable resource, your time, once again with me on the show. Everything Cashflow Ninja is at cashflowninja.com. We've got over 1,000 podcasts. We've got 4 books, reports, webinars, and much, much more, all at cashflowninja.com. And don't forget to subscribe to the best newsletter in the alternative wealth strategy and alternative asset investing space, the Wealth Dojo. You can subscribe to the Wealth Dojo by going to cashflowninja.com/subscribe. Until next time, live infinitely. This presentation is for educational and informational purposes only. The information being presented and considered does not consider your particular financial objectives or situation, and it does not make personalized recommendations. This material is not intended to replace the advice of a qualified tax and legal advisor or other qualified professionals, and you should not use the information in place of a customized consultation with a licensed professional regarding your specific personal financial objectives, situation, and needs. We believe the information provided is reliable, but we do not guarantee its accuracy, timeliness, or completeness.